not talking about having them go away. I'm talking about shifting your mindset so that they're not ruling all of the decisions. Welcome to the podcast. I'm Dr. Laura Ciel. Welcome. If this is the first time listening, I'm so glad to have you here. And if you want to know what do we talk about? Sometimes I have guests on the show. Sometimes I just speak to a topic that has been coming up for me in my work and in my life where I feel it would be something valuable and fun, sometimes fun to talk about. And today I was thinking about, oh, and if you're a listener, thank you so much for listening and thank you for coming back. I hope that you are feeling inspired by the podcast, and whether it's me or my guests and our conversations, hope that you are inspired in your own life and would love to hear from you. If you have any feedback, would love to hear from you. So I want to today talk a little bit about fear and love. And I think the reason this has been top of mind is in conversations with clients and in conversations in my personal life, I feel that there's a lot of focus on problems, issues, concerns, which ultimately there's usually some fear behind that, right? Like, I'm afraid I'm going to lose my job, for example, um, or things are happening at my company and I think I might lose my job. There's fear behind that, right? Or take anything that's happening in our bigger world or even in our communities. Something happens and it shocks us. Like, how could that happen? There's a fear around if something is happening that doesn't feel aligned with our beliefs, doesn't feel aligned with our hearts, the way that we move in the world. And there's a fear when something like that happens because unconsciously or sometimes consciously, we might be thinking, well, if that can happen, what about this? Or if this happened, oh my God, maybe this is going to happen, right? So whenever there's some sort of overwhelm in your own, if you just think about your own life, if you've had ever a sense of an overwhelm, stress, doesn't always have to be outright fear, but there's usually fear underneath that, right? So overwhelm, stress, concern, people might use that word doubt in your own ability. There might be a fear you won't be able to do well at that new job, or there might be a fear that this new person that you're meeting might not like you, right? Or there might be a fear that your relationship is going to break up. So it's really when you any of those feelings that don't feel good to us, like I said, whether it's overwhelm, whether it's stress, whether it's I can't go to sleep, I'm worried, I'm anxious, the fear is underlining that. So I was thinking about that, right? We don't want to make decisions from fear. And it's not like, even though we might really want to get rid of fear, it's not the exercise for us is not necessarily to get rid of fear. There is a reason the fear is there. And if we can identify it and almost um, separate it a little bit from the stories that you're making up in your head, see it clearly. Ooh, looks like I'm a bit fearful about XYZ. Then it has less of a hold on us and any of our decisions going forward. So let's just take for an example. Let's say that you are coming out of a relationship. This could be you could be losing your job too. It doesn't really matter. The same is going to be true. And it feels bad, right? And there's sadness most likely, but there's also going to be some fear because it's like, what's next? What's going to happen next? If that happened, What else could happen? If that happened, speaking of getting out of a relationship, if that happened, maybe I'll never find anything better. Maybe I'll never find someone. Maybe I'll be alone for the rest of my life. There's fear underneath those. So what happens is if you're living in that and you allow those stories to stay in your mind, then they are going to rule any decisions you make going forward. So take, for example, the becoming single. If you're fearful, you're less likely to put yourself out there. If you're afraid that I'll get dumped again or whatever it is, you're less likely to put yourself out there. In the world, you're less likely to open up. You're less likely to be vulnerable. You're less likely to show who you truly are. And think about a work situation. If you lose your job, that's scary, right? Where is the next job coming from? How am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to care for my children? Whatever is your specific scenario. And if you allow that fear and the stories around that fear to drive you in making decisions, those aren't always the best decisions for you going forward. Sometimes, oh, I would say all the time, it's really important to pause. Like I said, put that fear here, clearly look at it. Yeah, I'm afraid. I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills. I don't know if we're going to be able to stay living in this apartment. I don't know if I'll ever meet someone again who really loves me for who I am. Okay, you can even write it out. Sometimes that helps to separate it from you. And then tap into, see, you've got fear and we've got love. And you have love in you. And even if we're talking about a work situation, and when you tap into that part, into love, that's where there's gratitude, there's an opening, right? Opportunities open. Um, you, I'll give an example for me. I love meeting people when I travel. I mean, sometimes I like to just listen to music or listen to my books on tape. But if I feel an energy where I see someone or I'm sitting next to someone or someone asks me a question and I'm curious, I want to talk to them. That's coming from a place of love. I'm just not like I love them, but just I love humanity, right? I'm curious. Oh, where are you? Oh, you're going to go do this thing. Oh, you're on this flight with me. What are you going to go do? What are you looking forward to? Right? If you think of yourself moving in the world from that place, right? That's a more grounded, it's coming from who you really are. And you are a being of love, whether it feels like it or not. But if you're in that energy as you move through your day, whether it's at a park, whether it's in line at a grocery store, whether it's on an airplane, whether it's in some big social gathering, or whether it's a work meeting, if you're coming from that place, what you'll notice is you're more open. Um, you could use the word vulnerable, but that scares people for some reason. So if you think of yourself as more open, you are moving in the world in who you are, what's natural to you, a state of gratitude, a state of feeling love for yourself and what's next, then you still have that fear over here, the concerns, the sadness, the fear over here. It's not that they go away. I'm not talking about having them go away. I'm talking about shifting your mindset so that they're not ruling all of the decisions and all of the interactions that you're having. So you have that fear, you have that sadness, you have that concern, you have that uncertainty, you have that doubt. But when you're tapping in to what you're grateful for, and you're tapping into what you love and what you're passionate about, you're tapping into who you really are, and you move in the world, all of a sudden opportunities open up. So this could be meeting a person, this could be hearing about a job opportunity, this could be someone just loving talking to you so much that they just know that they want to introduce you to their friend. And that just happened to me recently with a friend. Ooh, I have this new next door neighbor I just met. I would love for you guys to meet, right? There wasn't some specific reason, but in that introduction, right? there are opportunities. So I like to say, I tell my kids, and this is something that I have said, and I share it with my clients as well, is we feel more fearful when we feel trapped, when we're against the wall, right? Like we're trapped, we can't get out of a scenario. And so it's not, don't be afraid in that scenario. That would scare anyone. It's how do you create an opening? How do you create an opportunity? How do you create choices, right? Because when we have choices, we're going to be a lot less fearful. So you might say, well, I'm so afraid I can't see those, or the fear is running it. And I get that. And that's why I say we hold that fear. We just don't let it rule what we're doing. So hold the fear. Oh, this feels really scary. I feel trapped. And then it's a mindset shift. Yes, that's there. And what else is also true? What else is also true is you have so much diversity of experiences and background and people you know and just qualities of who you are, having gratitude for that and being able to shift your mindset to I'm grateful for this, I love this, I'm passionate about this. These types of starting sentences with that will help you get into that state of it's almost like your energy opens up to something that is possible that you haven't yet seen. So I'm just wondering if I want to talk a little bit more about the energy before we sign off today. And I think I will. If you haven't watched the show, sometimes you'll hear I'll talk about energy. I'll talk a lot about when I have a guest on the show that there's something about their energy. I just wanted to have them on and have a conversation. So if you can just think of the energy part of who you are, right? You know that there's the physical part of who you are, and you might have a spiritual part of who you are. You definitely know about the emotional part of who you are, because we just talked about fear and love. But if you think about the energy part of who you are, if you think about cultivating an energy that feels good for you, and it has nothing to do with anyone or anything else outside of you. And look, you may not, maybe you're expert at this already, and maybe it's the first you have heard of it. So just if this is brand new, just entertain the idea. If you're an expert at this, I'd love to talk with you. So send me a message. Because I love talking about this stuff, and maybe I'd have you on the show. But think about you're cultivating the most beautiful, radiant, loving energy that you're living in, right? And it definitely will get impacted by external things. Part of our job as sovereign beings is to be aware of that and to do our best to do some energetic training, just the way you would do physical training, build up your strength, build up your energy to be able to keep the energy of who you are, keep what's yours, and let what is other people, let them have that. It's not yours. And all of that to say is we talked about the more literal things that you can do when you're in a place of fear and opening up to possibilities or opportunities. This is a little bit harder because it's not tangible. Your energies, you might feel it, but it's obviously not as tangible as working out your physical body. But if you just think about how can I, no matter what's happening in your life, no matter what is scaring you or making you sad, if you can think about how can I cultivate a, the most beautiful, loving energy within me. And this is different for different people, right? There are things that you can do that will tap into that. Sometimes you can do it with your mind. Sometimes it needs to be. For me, I love going for walks out in nature. It allows me to strengthen my energy field and honestly connect with nature too. So experiment. If this is brand new to you, experiment. See what feels good. What you're going for is to be in a bubble of just feeling really good no matter what's happening around you. Because the truth is this, right now in our world, and it's not going to slow down anytime soon, there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of anger, a lot of fear. Fear is behind a lot of this. And the more that each one of us can cultivate our energy to be in a place of love and gratitude, I know that sounds kind of silly, and I'm not discounting. I'm not discounting at all the tragedies in our world and the fear that's around us. But I am challenging myself and anyone who wants to be challenged to recognize that we do have the ability to cultivate our energy. And if we wait for everything to be perfect around us, I don't think that's happening anytime soon. So the challenge is, how do I, no matter what's going on, how do I cultivate this beautiful, loving gratitude, connected with self energy? And just be in that energy in whatever you do at the grocery store, with your kids, with a boss that you hate. The more that you can be in that energy, I promise you, not only will you feel better, and I get it's not going to change everything right away, right? It does open up opportunities, though, if you look for them, but you will feel better. And the more that more of us do that, the world that we move in will feel better. So you're gifting yourself, but you're also gifting, for anyone who wants, those around you, to be in the energy of someone who is, like I said, in love and in gratitude, no matter what stuff is happening around us. So that's what I wanted to say today. I've been thinking a lot about that love and fear. And the truth is, really, what's at the bottom of so many of our negative feelings is a fear of something. And if you can identify that, set it aside, not try to get rid of it, and cultivate to be in your energy of love and gratitude and your own inner radiance. It's going to open up opportunities for you. It will help make our world a better place. And, maybe it'll just make life a little bit more fun in the short moment that we have here. So I'd love to hear if you have any thoughts on that. I'd love to hear, and looking forward to talking with you next time.